So welcome back, everyone. We had a long break, Baruch Hashem for Simchis, and due to some of my inability to get my act together, and also I'll tell you, to be honest, there's another reason why I took my time, and that is because in this last parak of Shemona Prakim, the Rambam discusses, it's very heavy, and it's just harder to these ideas that they're very concentrated, and the absolutely fundamental topics in Yiddishkeit and in the Rambam's thought, and we have to be careful when we learn about things that something as fundamental as Bashert and as Yediyas Hashem and Hashgacha Pratis, and all these things are just extremely, and B'tochen, obviously, it's a very wide-ranging. The topic of Bechira is not only limited to the question of if a person has free will and what exactly is the extent of a person's free will, but it has much more. The implications of it are much further reaching, and that's why we have to take it very seriously. So again, but Lamasa, what we're learning over here is Rambam, and that's very important to keep in mind that obviously many Chachmei Yisrael, you could even say most Chachmei Yisrael, might have different ideas when it comes to these things. When it comes to Bechira, not necessarily, because I think that most Chachmei Yisrael agree with Moshe Rabbeinu that, especially if you word it like that a person has Bechira, right? Which means that the Torah gives the ability and the option to choose life or death, and that choice is inherently part of the experience of being in this world, and it's something that it's sort of the foundation upon which the entire Yiddishkeit sits on, and not only Yiddishkeit, also our social interactions, our communities, our relationships, and our experience of life. And that's sort of what we saw the last time, that the Rambam says that it's intuitive. We all know it from our senses. We experience it. And that is sort of the way we regulate society, the way we police society, the way we judge each other and we judge other people, and the way we put down rules. And that is all predicated upon this foundation that a person has free will, and therefore the outcomes of he is responsible for the outcomes of his actions, and for the better, for the worse. And the Lamase, what this is so important to discuss is that when we tell a person that you have a choice to excel, and you have the ability to refine your character and develop your mind and attain a relationship with the divine, that is something that's incumbent upon every person, and not necessarily that every person could have the same outcome, because there are different dispositions. Every person is made out of a different DNA. Every person has a different balance in their in their system, and especially if you have these humors, which is what the Rambam's medicine looked like. But even if we apply it to our own perception of medicine, our own knowledge of modern medicine, and that is that genetically everyone's different, and therefore people have different inclinations. Some people are easier to get angry, and some people have more greed and more control, and whatever it is. And therefore, it's not that we all start by the same 50-yard line, you could say, like sort of the middle of the field, and they could go to either side, but it's that everyone is born with free will, and there's nothing manipulating them or coercing them, neither from within or from without, to manipulating them to either way. So yes, so you're born, let's say, with more of an inclination to get angry, but no one's forcing you to be angry. You have a choice, and you have an absolute free choice to make the decision whether to work on your anger. And by the way, if you work on your anger enough, you might get to a place where you will completely refine your character, and you won't have that anymore. And for the treatment of that, that's what we saw in the earlier Prakim, the fourth Perek specifically. Now, I think it's important to stress another thing, and that is that according to the Rambam is not claiming that every person could reach the same place. That's a very silly argument to make. And there's no reason the Rambam should make that argument, because that wouldn't bring him, that wouldn't, there's no use, there's no purpose of such an argument. To say that, if you work on yourself, then every person could have the intellectual capacity of the Rogachover. It's a silly statement to make, and I don't think the Rambam is making that statement. So I don't think you could be, I don't think that every person has the intellectual capacity of the Rogachover, and no matter how much he will discipline that is that. But what you could get to is you could, if every person could refine his character, that is not a question. So if you refine your character and you develop whatever your intellectual capacity is, then you could attain a relationship with the divine, and that option is available to every single person in the world, and the Torah gives that bechira b'toiv u'bera to every person, and every person can do it to his capacity, and every person could have nitzchis, and he could have a sharas hanefesh, and he could be mizdabek in a lekus, and he could be a novi based on his, not a novi, actual novi, but a person could refine his character to the point where he will attain certain levels of hasagis. Every person, kol chad lefim shur delay, lefim adam mishar believe, as the Zohar would say. But fine. So the Rambam, I don't remember where we, exactly what the last conversation we had was, but one of the main things that concerned people in the Rambam's times is the role of astrology. And that's something that was very important to the Rambam to say, that it's absolute baloney, it means nothing, and it has no impact. The day, time of year, of the month, or of day that you were born has absolutely no relation to your, there's no correlation between that and your behavior, and so that's not something you should be concerned about. And on the other hand, he brings rise from the Torah that the Torah is very, gives those bechir, and the Torah takes into consideration things that are not certain and it's not predetermined, and fine. Now the Rambam will examine some Mamar Chazal that seem to be inconsistent with what he said. And, so let's see. And that is not, by the way, I think we're going to, we finished a big part of discussing the astrological aspect of it. There are other elements of this question, of determinism. Do I have free will? Now, I think the other objection to free will. So if we have a few objections to free will, one objection is that, that a person is manipulated by his nature, that by his DNA that was etched into him at the time and month of, related to astrology. The other one is that the world is run by Ratzon Hashem. Okay, this is something. Now, if Hashem wills it, it happens. If Hashem doesn't will it, it doesn't happen. So by definition, every single action that I do is done through the will of Hashem. Because if Hashem doesn't have an opinion in the matter, it wouldn't happen. And the entire world is an expression of Hashem's will that the world should exist. And therefore, every single action that I do is a result of Ratzon Hashem. And so therefore, obviously I can't, if there's Hashem's will and then there's my will, so obviously my will can't trump Hashem's will. So therefore, obviously everything that I did actually I didn't do anything. It's all Hashem's will playing out, and therefore I really don't have any part in it. So that is the other objection to giving a person free will, and that is, how could a person's free will be stronger than Hashem's will? You find that Chazal, there's a certain statement made by the Chazal, Hakol b'dei Shemaim chutz mi'yirei Shemaim. Okay, so everything is b'dei Shemaim chutz mi'yirei Shemaim. What would that imply? So that would imply that everything is b'dei Shemaim. Now, besides for Yirei Shemaim, let's say Yirei Shemaim would mean if you are a Yirei Shemaim or not. So now we have a contradicting. We have a problem. Our problem is like this. The Rambam says that a person is entire anything that has to do with a person's self, with whether it's his midas, right, his character traits, his actions, his intellectual endeavors, whatever it is, they are all. They are all in the realm of free will. So here you say Chazal, say Hakol b'dei Shemaim chutz mi'yirei Shemaim. Hakol b'dei Shemaim sounds like they're saying that everything is b'dei Shemayim. Says the Rambam, so what the Rambam does is that he sort of takes this memra and he puts it on its head. And what he says is that Haka b'dei Shemayim chutz b'dei Shemayim sounds like everything is b'dei Shemayim, right? Now everything in the world is b'dei Shemayim, besides for one little thing, and that's Yirah Shemayim. What the Rambam does is he opens it up the other way. He says that everything is Yirah Shemayim. Now, what's not, so therefore, if everything is, if you put as many things as you want into the category of Yirah Shemayim, so then what is B'dei Shemayim? So, but the Rambam really, that's something we saw in Pirkei Shemona Parakim, that every single action that a person does either brings him closer to Hashem or brings him further from Hashem. B'chol derechecha da'ehu. B'chol derechecha da'ehu means that a person's entire life has to be geared and directed towards reaching the tachlis of Yidis Hashem. Now, therefore, every single action, a sub-action that a person does, either brings him closer or further. So now, it's almost like he's saying that every single action a person does is either a mitzvah or an avera. So everything that a person does is Yirah Shemayim. Because everything has so we're not talking about mitzvahs and averas, which is obviously in the realm of Yirah Shemayim. So if a person does something that is absolutely a mitzvah, or it's an avera, that's obviously Yirah Shemayim. And that is Hakol b'dei Shemayim, chutz m'Yirah Shemayim. So it's not in Hashem's, the ball is not on Hashem's court regarding if you're going to put on tefillin or not. That, the Gemara clearly implies, if we're going to put that into the category of Yirah Shemayim, that's not b'dei Shemayim. So if you should put on tefillin, that's your choice. That's not up to Hashem. Hashem can't make the decision for you, and there's no way that Hashem's will manipulate that in any way. So your tefillin and your matzah and your anger and your lashon hara and your riyas asuras and your keeping Shabbos, that is not b'dei Shemayim. Okay, so take out all the Taryag mitzvahs, and not only the Taryag mitzvahs, anything that's going to bring you any musr, anything that has to do with you working on yourself, that is also included in Yirah Shemayim. So anything that has to do with Avodas Hashem, take care of Yirah Shemayim. So basically you're saying that any action that I'm going to do, any bite that I'm going to take in a sandwich is in the category of Yirah Shemayim, because either that, is that appropriate? If it's appropriate, it's going to make me closer to Hashem, and it's going to bring me closer to my goal, and that is something that will refine my character. So whether I will take that bite or not, has implications in the realm of Yirah Shemayim, and therefore Hashem has no part in me biting into that sandwich. Will I bite into that sandwich, or will I go shmooze with that guy? Hashem has no idea. And Hashem has no way of manipulating it. If he has his way of breaking the system, is another shmooze. But we're talking about categorically. Is this something that's in Hashem's realm? Is this in the Hakol b'dei Shemayim part? Or is that in the chutz part? So the Rambam says that basically every single action that a person makes in his entire life, so every single one of the 7 billion people, every single action that they made in their life is in the category of Yirah Shemayim. So what's b'dei Shemayim? That's a good question. Now let's see. It's absolutely true. It's consistent with what we said. A lot of people make a mistake. A lot of people make a mistake. A lot of people think the choices that they make really are, they are determined to do them. So now the Rambam takes on this is beautiful, because sometimes if you would read it, like you would think that the Rambam just brings 2 random examples of this. But these 2 examples are very, very thought through. So the Rambam's 2 examples for things that people think that are b'dei Shemayim, and that is shidduchim and money. Why does he bring these 2 digmos? Because Chazal say that Arba'am Yom Kad Mitzias are allowed. Baskal says Bas Plani Plani and Bas Plani Plani. So, which means that Chazal say that a person's money and a person's shidduch is Bashert. Now, Bashert means that this shidduch is your shidduch. Let's just, when we say the word Bashert, I don't even know what the word Bashert means. In proper Yiddish, it's probably a word in Yiddish. I don't know what the touch in the word is. But Bashert, the way we understand Bashert to mean, that it's in Arabic, I think the word is Muktab. That means that it's predetermined, and that is your bashert, and that's your shidduch, and there's nothing you can do. And what does it mean? There's nothing you can do. That is mamish the idea that there is no free will in this area. That is 100% the written, predetermined. This is your shidduch, and if you're going to try to find whichever other shidduch, it's not going to work. It's not made for you. It won't happen. It won't work. And any money that's not yours, you won't make, and it won't get to you. And that is the way we experience. And the Rambam says this is absolutely not true. Because this is in the area of Yirah Shemayim. Now, getting married is a mitzvah. If getting married is a mitzvah, then Hakol b'dei Shemayim chutz m'Yirah Shemayim. Does Hashem manipulate? Now, getting married is chaim. It's a mitzvah. First mitzvah in the Torah. You make a bracha. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. Does Hashem manipulate you in any way to do mitzvahs? No. Therefore, Hashem cannot and will not categorically have an opinion on your shidduch. He can't mix into your shidduch. So therefore, no, shidduch menap bashert. Now, is money bashert? No. Because if this money is erlich money, then it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to do business. Hin tzedek, efas tzedek. It's a lois kachu ishma misoy, lois shavu b'shmila shaker, whatever. There's 1,000 of it. Oina, lois sigzol, lois signov, lois kachu ishma misoy. I don't know. There's 1,000 mitzvahs and 1,000 of it pertaining money. Therefore, this money, when you're going to do business, if you're doing business erlich or not, is that a choice that you have? Obviously, 100%. And now, so when you engage in this action, Hashem doesn't involve himself in it because this is in the realm of Yiras Shamayim. Says the Rambam, so you can't say that Bas Ploni LePloni is arranged, is determined. Because what if the person doesn't want to get married? What if the person wants to marry someone that he's not allowed to marry? Does Hashem say that he's not? That is Hashem going to mix into that? Hashem can't. This is Yiras Shamayim. And by the way, we have to understand what we say. If you have a bashert and a person tries to marry someone that's aser, I'm one of the Kohen Gadol. So this Kohen Gadol has a bashert shidduch, does he? Let's talk through this. So this Kohen Gadol has a bashert. Now, obviously, Hashem wouldn't make a bashert that he should marry an amona. It can't be. That for sure can't be. So, and by the way, if we would say that it is, then that would be ridiculous because he's going to get punished for it. He's going to get punished in this world and the next world. So obviously, I'm on the Kohen Gadol can't be bashert. That would be a terrible miscarriage of justice. It wouldn't be a miscarriage of justice. It would be a blatant injustice in it for itself that Hashem would. So that's unacceptable, right? So his bashert is obviously a very nice besula. Beautiful, givaldik. Now he married this almana. Does he have a choice to do it, or doesn't he have a choice to do it? Obviously, if this is not his bashert, and he married someone that's not his bashert, so could this happen or could this not happen? So the Rambam says, being that every marriage is either a mitzvah or an avera, and there's no middle ground, so you can't say that Hashem involves himself in this. So therefore, shidduchim are not bashert. Mic drop. Let's see. Ki ha'isha azois, im lakcha b'ksuba v'kedushin, hi muteres loi, in a soil of period v'rivar is a mitzvah. Vashem ene gozer alas yis mitzvah. We established this. Hashem does not involve himself in a mitzvah. If there was a problem in this marriage, then Hashem ene gozer b'aver. So this is someone who stole money, who cheated in business, who overcharged, whatever he did. And he swore falsely, and that's how he got this $1 million. So you meet a guy and he has $10 million. Is this money bashert to him? The way he got it was by stealing it from other people. He was over 1,000 averis with this money. So obviously this money is not bashert to him. So you can't say such a thing. It's unacceptable. Therefore, you have to say, every single action that a person does, every single action that a person does is either a mitzvah or an avera. There is no, this is very consistent and with Pirkei. And that is that every single action that you do in your life is either going to bring you closer to Hashem or further from Hashem, like Bush said, right? You're either with us or against us. And therefore, every single thing that you do, every single action you do, every single food you eat, every single place you drive, every single podcast you listen to, every single person you shmooze to, everything is either going to bring you closer to Hashem or further from Hashem. Now, so if every single action you do is in the realm of Yiras Shamayim, therefore you have to say that Hashem is completely uninvolved with any interaction that you make. And Hashem gives you the choice to do whatever you want to do. And therefore you have to carry the responsibility for it. Okay. So the Torah only tells a person, this is where the Rambam says that the Torah never talks to the digestive system, only to the sensory soul, and that is because the digestive system doesn't have bechira. It just works with whatever it's fed, it was fed into the shredder, But the choice is by the sensory soul, what to eat or not to eat. And that's where the bechira is. So, ve'eno b'yidei shemayim. Yiras Shamayim is in the sensory soul, in the appetitive soul, intellectual soul. That is where the Yiras Shamayim is. And that is where the bechira is. And that's why it's Ene b'yidei shemayim. Elo misura lebechira sa'adam k'mash b'yanu. It's in the realm of bechira. Ve'omram imken hakol. Oh, so now we have a givaldik kasha. Our kasha is, so basically you said, hakol b'yidei shemayim chitz mi'yiras shamayim. So, 10 minutes ago, we all thought, what does Hakab B'dei Shemayim Chutz Mi'Yiras Shamayim mean? That everything's B'dei Shemayim. What's not B'dei Shemayim? If you should be a Yiras Shamayim, Tata, ich was an Yiras Shamayim. This Tata, ich was an Yiras Shamayim, the Eibishter sits across of every Eden, and the Eibishter says, boy, I can't help you. Right? That's what we thought till now. We thought till now that that's the only thing that Hashem can help you with is you should actually be Yiras Shamayim or not. But now we found out that nothing that I do really is B'dei Shemayim. So what is B'dei Shemayim? This hakoil just became very, very, very small. So says the Rambam, no, the hakoil is talking about the cosmos. It's like the husband and the wife that made a deal that he takes care of all the big things and she takes care of all the little things, right? So if if Israel should attack Iran in the reactor, or global warming, or all these very, very big things is his choice, but all domestic little decisions are her choice. That's really what the Rambam is doing here. The Rambam is saying like this: when we say hakoil, we mean the cosmos, we mean nature, gravity. Gravity is b'dei shemayim. The weather is b'dei shemayim. The code of nature, the E equals MC square, that is b'dei shemayim. The entire natural system. When we say hakoil b'dei shemayim, means that we mean the cosmos. We mean the entire system. That's b'dei shemayim. But you little person, no, that's bechira. So that's what hakoil b'dei shemayim chutz mi'yiras shamayim means. V'amram imken hakoil ein kavanah mizeh elo l'nyonim ativim she'en lo bechira b'hem. Goni yoseh orach hakotzer. If a person should be short or tall, or you read the sageshem, or bitzaris, if there should be a famine, or there should be rain, or kilkel aver etzechusay, or if there should be pollution in the air, it should be good here or bad here. Everything besides for pertaining to a human being. When it comes to you, every single action, every movement, everything that you do is biyodcha, not b'dei shemayim. That is in the category of Yiras Shamayim. Let's read another few lines and then we'll come back. It says the Rambam, and this is beautiful. There's mamish beautiful psukim that point out this point. This, what we just said, the Chazal say that Hakab Shemaim Chutz Mi'Yiras Shamayim. Let's stress the Chutz Mi'Yiras Shamayim, that every single action that a person does is not b'gzeres elyon, is not predetermined. We don't believe in determinism. We believe in an absolute free will that when it comes to you, not only a mitzvah naver, not only for almana should marry a kohen gadol, but when you marry your wife, Hashem doesn't have an opinion because it's a mitzvah. Ksuba v'kedushin, there's a mitzvah. So therefore, Hashem is not involved. And Hashem says, so there's all the women in the world that you can marry. Some are mitzvah, some are averis, and even the one that's mutter is there's a variety and there's options and mitzvahs and averis in that field. So Hashem is not involved. Hashem lets you do, lets you do you. So the Rambam says it's psukim and eicha, because the pasuk in eicha that says Nimshach Zachar Divrei Yirmiyahu. Yirmiyahu Novi says, "Mepi elyon leteitza haroiz v'atoiv." Beautiful. What does mepi elyon leteitza haroiz v'atoiv? So Rashi says that the pasuk is a rhetorical question, right? The pasuk is saying, "Mepi elyon leteitza haroiz v'atoiv," that the toiv and ra don't come from mepi elyon. How did they come mepi elyon? So therefore, if you're sad that something happened, then you should know that you didn't do it. It's Hashem did it, and therefore you should daven to Hashem because He does. Everything comes from Him. The Rambam takes the same psukim and instead of a question mark, he makes an exclamation point, and he says, "No, by the way, the message is very similar because regardless, the message is going to be according to Rashi. Rashi says, therefore daven. The Rambam says, "No, exclamation point, and therefore it's not mepi elyon, and it's because of you, and therefore do tshuva." Regardless, the answer is going to, the solution is going to be the same, but from a very different place. So the Rambam says like this: when we say mepi elyon, it means that pi elyon is not geyser. Hashem is not geyser if you should do good or evil. Omar, Hashem ain't a goy she'asa the meroids v'lo she'asa toivus. Hashem is not involved if you're going to eat matzah or chometz, or you're going to put on tefillin, or you're going to put on tzitzis or won't, or if a man is going to marry kohen gadol. Hashem is not involved in that. And because that is the fact, because the fact is therefore, royal adam nisatzif. A person should be sad. A person that a person should take responsibility for the averes that he did, and he should do tshuva. Because you are responsible for your own actions, because the only one that you have to blame for your bad situation and the fact that your life is messed up is because you made bad decisions, and the reason why you have lung cancer is because you smoked. Therefore, do tshuva, stop smoking, cold turkey. And that is, and the Hemshech HaPsukim are gorgeous according to the Rambam. Because the Rambam says, like, you have to read the Psukim in succession. The Rambam says like this, and then he says, who do you have to complain? Who do you have to blame? You have to only blame for yourself. And that's why, how should you take care of yourself? And that's why because you have to take responsibility, because you have to own your problems, because you have to own your messed up life, therefore, that is the natural succession of the psukim. Because we start with the point, therefore, who you? You. Who do you have to blame? You, yourself. Therefore, that you should do tshuva. Okay, so now we have to stop here for a second. We're gonna have to stop here, and tomorrow's direct hemshech of this. But what we saw now is that Ephraim wants to know if the blatel is a rugefan of devarim. That's something we'll see tomorrow. The Rambam is going to speak about this mamish tomorrow. So let's leave that for what we're going to talk about tomorrow. But for now, we saw that the Rambam is when the Rambam establishes this central thesis that free will is all over the place, right? It's not only limited to Yiras Shamayim. Yiras Shamayim is an all-encompassing category that has to do with every single action that a person does. Everything you do in your life is in the realm of Yiras Shamayim, and therefore Hashem is not involved. And now the Achronim take, and even the Rishonim already, the Ram, some Rishonim, the Tashbitz, the Abarbanel, many Rishonim, the Ramban, they all take the Rambam to task of this. No, they're not really happy with this Rambam. Because the Gemara clearly implies that Shidduchim are Bashert, and Panosa is Bashert. And that's the chinuch that we were brought up with. And so there's a few, we could be apologetic about it. There are a few options. I'm just giving you the variety of options over here. There are a few ways you could go about it. Either you could be apologetic, and you could try to reconcile the Rambam and try to minimize what the Rambam is trying to say. And then you can make a zak claim. You could say that if you're going to get married or not going to get married, that is not b'dei Shema, because that's either a mitzvah or not doing a mitzvah. So Hashem doesn't get involved if you get married or not. But if you will get married to a woman that is kosher for you, that woman is Bashert. Right? So basically there is a Bashert. There is a woman that is your zivik, but if you're going to go, if you're going to make the decision to get married, and by the way, you can't marry another woman, but that is only if you choose to get married. So you do have a choice, but that choice is limited. Meaning, the result of that choice is limited. So some Achronim want to say that, but the Rambam clearly in a different place rejects this idea. And I think the more responsible the thing is to say that, the Rambam disagrees with this Gemara. So I'll tell you, the Rambam's explanation for this Gemara is, so I don't think he says it here. The Rambam says like this. When the Gemara says, Bas Ploni le Ploni, it means that, the Rambam writes this in a letter. I don't know if he's going to say this here again. Let's see if he does. If he does, then I'm not going to repeat it now. So I don't see it here. So the Rambam says that that's either for a schar or for a einish. Meaning, in the general, most times there's no opinion in Shemaim who you're going to marry or who you should marry. It's open. But if Hashem wants to give a person schar because this person is did something, he deserves to have an isha toiva, so that Hashem is going to lead him to marry isha toiva. Or if a person needs an einish and he's going to marry isha ra, so then it's bashert. But the general shidduch is not bashert. So again, this is where we're learning Rambam. But yes, we should obviously. So what we need to do is, first of all, we're learning Rambam, we have to stand what the Rambam says. And this is what the Rambam says. This is the claim he makes. This is how he learns the Gemara. And it's on no uncertain terms, it's very clear what the Rambam thinks about this. Now, what the other Chachmei Yisrael think about is that Shidduchim are very much Bashert. And even though, if we're going to say that in general, a person's Toiv and Ra are taken up b'dei Shemayim, and Hashem doesn't involve himself. But certain things in nature, just like if a person is short or a person is tall, is definitely b'dei Shemayim. And not only that, if a person is smart, if a person has certain intellectual capacity or certain inclinations for things that even the Rambam agrees that naturally people are born with certain inclinations. So part of nature is it's sort of that doesn't belong to mitzvah naver. That belongs to nature, and a person does have other half of which is which is his, and that's his Bashert Zivug. So I want to point out that there's a different perspective, but the Rambam's opinion is that free will, every action that a person does, and not only when it's in a mitzvah naver per se, not only when we're talking about cheating in business or doing ehrlich business, which is obviously a mitzvah naver, but we're talking about anything that a person does, everything is in the category of Yirah Shamayim, and therefore everything you do from when you woke up till you went to sleep is on you. It's only on you. Own up to it, take responsibility for it, and if you messed up, you have only yourself to blame, but there's tshuva. That's the mile of saying this free will. The mile of saying free will is that yes, you are responsible, but on the other hand, you have the opportunity to change. And you have the opportunity not only to change, you have the opportunity to excel, and every single person, as long as you're alive, you have free will. And therefore you could excel and you could grow and you could do tshuva and you could fix all these things that you messed up. So we should be zoiche to do tshuva, and we'll take this conversation further in Bisham tomorrow.